Um, I'm trying to give you a sense of what Jacques Lacan, the very famous French psychoanalyst, think about love and how he defines love and hate. Or in a broader sense, how we see love through the eyes of psychoanalysis. Or how can we define love from the very inner perspective or psyche to see what happens when we fall in love and how we can define love. So love, as we know, as we have said, it's a very sudden, unexpected experience. You trap almost into a kind of experience that it's sudden. You are brought into that condition. You didn't want to. You didn't decide to. You fell into that kind of environment. So to talk about this sudden experience, we need to talk about the experience of love and the expression of love. So we start talking about the expression of love, because what we read all the way from the beginning day of this course to this point was the experience of love. Like the readings that we had mostly dealt with the experience of love. The poems, the novels, and the other readings was sort of projections of what is the experience of love, and that's how the experience of love important for you to study love. But from psychoanalysis perspective, it is mainly important how you express something, how you say something. So from this perspective, we begin with saying that it is impossible to express the object of your love as a whole, as a total that you had in your imagination. It is impossible to bring that object of love into language, in the total and the wholeness of that object that you have it in your imagination. So why is it why we cannot talk about our loved object and express it in language? The reason is that it is impossible to bring the object of your love into language. Why? Because when you talk about love, when you think about your object of love, first of all, you're bringing up a subject that is not properly accessible. Please let me know if you have any question in any point of my talk. Because what you have in your mind about your love subject is a highly imaginative condition that you pictured or you assumed or you pictured someone in a very highly possession. And that picture is absolutely far from the real situation of the loved object that you have. And later on we discuss why we're making this huge differences between the object we assume and the object that it's independently and in real time existed. So for this emptiness, this not being presented in the area of outside of your imagination, we deal, when we speak about the object of love, we deal with emptiness, with the void of something that is not really there for us to bring it into language. Lacan believes that when we love someone, we attempt to give someone that thinks that person doesn't have it. The quote I have from him is that loving is to give what one does not have. So when you love someone, you're trying to give that person something that person doesn't have. And that person doesn't either want to have this object that you're giving or this subject that you're giving to that person. So the expression of love is impossible because the object of love is not clarified, is not something that we can directly seize with our eyes to be able to see it, what we're talking about. So if this is the case, then you would ask, then how can we communicate with love? And psychoanalysts would tell you that we have 3 ways of dealing with love and communicating with love. One is to talk, the second is to write, and the third is to make. So talking love, writing love, and making love. So with these 3 categories that we approach to love, Lacan believes that talking about love is impossible. You cannot talk about love because the purpose and the aim of talking is to clarify something, to create a better picture of something that you don't have prior to that conversation, or to make it relatable to you. When you talk about something, the aim of your talking is to relate that thing to you, to make it known to you. You make yourself known to that thing, right? And because love is, in this approach, is not clear to us and we cannot define it. As I probably previously told you, that we cannot define love. We cannot define so many other things too, but in this specific concept, we cannot define love. And for this reason, if we talk about love, this talking makes no sense. It doesn't take us anywhere for this conversation. Yes?
Are you saying that there's basically no words to describe love?
Yes.
Like in words?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. It may become clearer when I go on, but if the question wasn't clear, I'll be happy to answer. So talking love is something making more ambiguity in the emptiness of something that you're dealing with, or making the emptiness bigger and bolder than it seems to be. The second approach in terms of communicating with love is to write love. Writing love, Lacan believes that it's the only way that you can communicate with love and express love. Writing love. Or bringing love into words, using words as your tools and medium in order to explain and describe love. And you may ask, why talking love is not something that clarifies the condition of love, and writing love is the only way that you can clarify and talk about love. So Lacan says because the materiality of words helps to establish a common ground, a ground that we can establish a common place between us and others, between myself and other human beings around me, to be able to sort of exchange, to transfer our shared experiences. This materiality of words allows us to do that. We know that words are not made of materials, but the appearance of word on blackboard, on your paper, there's something that you can see it. You can say that this is, in a sense, material. And this sense of materiality would help to communicate love. With talking love, we cannot express love, but we cannot make love. So psychoanalysts would tell you that if you want to create love, if you want to make love, talking love is the only way that you can extend and expand and sort of extensively grow the amount of love you have through talking. Right? Any question?
I think, I think that's true because I don't know about anybody else, but when you try to talk your way through love, it's not on your terms because you have an audience and you have that person in front of you. So all of your insecurities and your awkwardness and their awkwardness and all of that energy and that awkward energy, you probably won't convey or remember everything that you have to say, and it's not on your terms really. But if you sit down and you write how you feel, it's on your terms, and when they read it and they accept it, it's on their terms, and all of that anxiety and awkwardness is taken out of the mix, and then you can actually really get across what you want to say, and they can actually receive what you're trying to say.
Absolutely. And the important part in terms of talking love is that talking cannot be avoided or being separated from human feelings. Mm-hmm. Talking is the talking of your feeling. And it is a talking of your intelligence, obviously. But more importantly and most likely, it is the talking of your feelings. Your feelings talk through you, expressing you through to the other person, right? So these feelings becomes actively engaged with someone else that you want to talk to. And that's how you experience that talking love is how you make love. The second important part of this discussion in terms of psychoanalytic approach is to remember that love is a narcissistic action. Despite all the understanding and saying that love is a devoting, self-devotion process, that you actually forget yourself for the other. You see other and you become so attached to that person that you forget yourself. You devote yourself. You do whatever that person wants you to do, right? This is a sense of romantic approach and understanding of love. But psychoanalysis says that no, this is not true. Love is the most selfish act of human being, because you love someone. In many ways, you want to make that person the next territory of yours. You want to extend yourself to the body of that person, to the soul of that person, to the feelings and to existence of that person. It is a sort of taking over another country. And without, in many cases, you feel that you're doing that, without intending to doing that. What your intention is actually is to be devoted, to be taken over by that person, to be the extended part of that person that you love, the subject of your love. So to open this up a bit, Freud, in his analysis of human psyche, first he says our psyche has three parts, ego, superego, and it. And when he comes to ego, first of all, he says the ego off, the fight between superego and it. It is the pleasure principle, and superego is the moral compass. So when I want to do something, superego says, no, don't do that, that's wrong. And my, it, the pleasure principle says, go for it, do it, this is the time, don't wait, right? So, and then this no and this yes, they fight each other and finally come to a conclusion. That conclusion is your ego, your personality, your identity. So Freud says there is a fixated, a established ego in human psyche. And ego has two drives. One is a ego libido. The next one is a object libido. Ego libido is that you do everything to find yourself, to do for yourself, to satisfy yourself. And the object libido is to catch whatever object you wanna have it, right? So in this concept, Lacan believes that love is a ego libido function that we create. We try to find ourselves. So when you, for example, when you imagine a baby about 7 or 8 months old, for the first time go in front of a mirror, and like standing in front of a mirror, he or she, let's say she, sees herself as a whole and says, wow, that's me. You know, she becomes very happy. For the first time, she sees herself as a whole. She had seen her hands, her legs, her eyes, everything else, right? As a piece, as a part. For the first time, she sees herself as a whole. And so she gets in a kind of imagination in her psyche as a total piece, as a whole. Hello.
Hello.
And Lacan says that that's idle eye. Idle eye. That is something that never happens outside of the mirror. Never happens outside of the mirror. You can never see yourself as a whole outside of a mirror. And also, there is no way to prove that I is that image in the mirror. That image in the mirror is not I, is not me. It's the mirror, it's the image, sorry. So that image is not perfectly equal to I, to ego. So this problem grows when this person becomes older, and she tries to find her ego, herself, everywhere, looking poetry, art, education, knowledge, whatever you do, whatever she does, it is a search for that ego, for that self. So in this regard, love is a strong attempt, powerful attempt to search, to look for the ego that is lost in the mirror. But it is a completely selfish, self-centered, ego-centered attempt for the person to look, to search for the things that you have lost in other person. You're using that person as a mirror in order to find the situation that you have lost. Okay, any question here? No? Okay, so I'm gonna give you my last section of talk, which is how I can connect hate and love. So to do that, I need to define 3 items from Lacan. One is he has 3 orders. He has 3 orders. Lacanian orders. You anything in the world you find, you can put it or categorize it in one of these categories. One is the real. Second is the imaginary. And third is the symbolic. Okay, so to explain this, are you guys familiar with signified and signifier in Saussurean term? When I say, for example, tea, the word tea, this is a word, signify something as we drink, right? This is a word, this signifies an image, a mental image. It is not something outside or real. It is a completely mental image. When you say tree, it is a word. Or you say pen. It is a word. It goes or signify a mental image. So whatever we, in these three categories, imagery is the categories that is only in our psyche, in our mind, the mental image that we have from the world. So this signified whatever we have here. The image of tree, the image of tea, the image of pen, the image of whatever you can imagine in your world. That is the imaginary world or the imaginary order. It is just in our imagination, in our psyche. The symbolic is the signifier, the word. For example, you see something burning, right? The smoke is signifying a fire. The attractive face probably signifying some, love or anything. You can basically categorize this. So signifier is verbal. It's a made of word things. So symbolic is language or anything related to language. Imaginary, what you have in your imagination. And real. In this part, real is what you cannot express. For example, if you want to name something, if you want to say something, if you want to talk about something, you have to use language. Use a word for it. For example, I want to say this, I have to name it. As soon as I name it, then that is not real, because that becomes a linguistic thing. Is it clear? No?
Not quite, that last part.
Okay, the last part. So, for example, we have something real, and the real is something before language. I have this, and I don't know what to say about this, so I make a name for this.
And then it becomes symbolic.
Absolutely. As soon as I make a name for this becomes symbolic. And Lacan says, language kills the real and creates reality. Reality is a linguistic phenomenon. It is not something that you walk around it and touch it and feel it and see it. It is a linguistic phenomenon. So if that is clear, we have three orders: real, symbolic, and imaginary, right?
Yep.
Lacan says, in terms of love, says it is a imaginary based phenomenon.